Welcome to this week's episode of the Connecting Faith to Life podcast. This is Tommy Metter, the lead pastor of Northwood Baptist Church in North Charleston, South Carolina, and I am so thankful that you are tuning in today as we take just a few moments to help you connect faith to life. If you are listening to the podcast, that sounds a bit different because it's me, Tommy, not Trey. He is away today. He is sick and not doing well. He will be well. He's on some very strong antibiotic, and he's going to make it. He's just fine, so no worries. He's just feeling very under the weather, and hopefully by next week he'll be back with us in full force. But Trey, hopefully you're listening, and if you are listening, Trey, we're praying for you and hoping that you get better really soon. So in Trey's place, here on episode number 259, in Trey's place is my wife, Staci. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
This is historic because this is the first time it's been just you and me on the podcast.
Yes.
You were with us a couple of times. We did a series on marriage months and months ago. I don't know what episode. And Kelly was here, and then we also did, I think it was our 100th episode. We brought the pastors' wives in. Was it just you and Kelly? Maybe it was just you and Kelly.
We had cake.
That's right, we did. And so you are not a stranger to the podcast, but
No.
you are here for the first time by yourself. Well, not by yourself, you're with me, but just the two of us. Feels very intimate, doesn't it?
No, not at all. You're across the table with this monkey of a microphone hanging over. Yeah, not exactly.
But you've got some background in this kind of stuff. Not podcast recording, but you did a degree in communications.
Yes.
So
I did.
you learned how to communicate through that degree. But you did some recording kind of stuff.
That is what it would imply.
Yeah. You did some recording kind of stuff.
I have.
Where you spoke into a microphone.
Yes, it is
Yeah.
not that
It's not it's
intimidating. It's just.
You didn't have to have a college degree to figure it out, but you did get a college degree, right?
You're just boosting my
No, I mean
self-confidence all over
But
the
you
place.
had some aspirations to do some broadcasting, didn't you? Wasn't that
I
one?
did.
You did.
Yes.
And it just didn't work out for you.
God had other plans.
God had other plans. He sent you to the mission field instead, where you did some. You helped others broadcast.
Kinda. We
So
did
you wanted to be
recording
a
of the
news
Jesus
anchor.
film.
Did you like want to be a news anchor or something, or what did you want to do? What was your goal with? I probably should know this about my wife. What did you want to do with that communications degree?
Well,
I know this is not the subject, but this is what Trey and I do. We banter.
okay. Well, that's not so much banter.
What?
As
These
it
are
is
things
a
I want to know,
question I
and-
probably should have thought about how to answer.
Well, everybody
before
wants to
being
know.
here.
What did you want to do with that communications
Well, this is
degree?
how it began. I
Okay.
was at a conference for ACT Teens. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's the missions organization through the Southern Baptist Convention where young youth girls learn about missions and missionaries. Anyhow, we were at a convention and there was this big screen playing and this gal down on the stage, and her job was to travel the world interviewing foreign missionaries.
That's what you want to do. You
And
want
I
to be
thought,
on the screen
wow.
interviewing missionaries.
Well, and traveling and seeing firsthand what God was doing and being able to communicate that to people who might not otherwise have access to have visuals on what was happening around the world.
You did a good job with that. I mean, I'm glad you didn't do it because I wouldn't
Yeah,
imagine
you
we got
came
married.
along.
But yeah,
Mhm.
but you would have done well with that. You have a good voice for those kinds of things and pretty good face too. Yeah, you got the whole package.
Thank you, dear.
You would have done well. You would have done well.
I appreciate
But
that.
yeah. So then you went, but you
But I
didn't.
didn't get to do it.
You didn't. You finished a degree. You
Oh,
graduated
yes,
college.
I finished the degree.
Yeah. And then you went over after seminary. You went to Cyprus and did some recording. You were on the other end. You weren't on the screen. You were off the screen.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, I worked with a traveling recording team where we would go into whatever circumstance, wherever, third world country, whatever they had available, and we would convert rooms, shipping containers, whatever we had into a recording studio where we would record the lines to the Jesus Film movie.
Yeah.
Owned by Campus Crusade.
And if you did that
True.
today instead of the years you did it, because it's been several years ago, if you did that today, it'd be much easier. Well, in some ways it would not. but the equipment has changed so much.
Oh, definitely. Indeed.
You would take your phone
Yes.
and that'd be it. You could do it all on your phone.
Perhaps.
You used like the
We had a Samsonite suitcase that packed a box with wires coming in and out of it and knobs and different
it was reel-to-reel
things.
kind of stuff, right?
I'm not that old. But thank you. You had to get
No,
in an age joke,
that
even
was-
if Trey's not here. Thank you very much. Sorry, Trey. No, it wasn't reel to reel. We didn't splice with scissors and tape. We had a laptop that had a program designed specifically for that purpose, and we used it to record national
But it was a big
speakers.
camera, that wasn't it? It was a huge camera.
You have no idea. No, we didn't have a camera.
Well, how did you record the stuff without a camera? Oh, because you weren't doing the video. That's right. You were doing.
Microphone. It was the
You were doing the audio,
words,
the voiceovers. That's right. That's right. See, I know so much about your life. You were doing the audio
Yes.
to it. That's right. I remember now. Okay. I'm sorry, but okay. Moving right along because that's not what we're talking about
Are we
today.
saving this one? Is this
No, this is live. Well, not live, but this is recorded. Everybody's going to hear this. It's going to be great.
great?
But now people know something about you they didn't know. They didn't know that you had the aspirations to be a media star with the
no.
International Mission Board.
Okay, whatever you say, dude.
Yeah. So I think you did better though. You married me.
I had
and-
no idea we were going to be talking about this today.
Well, I didn't either. That's what Trey and I do. I just open my mouth and
pong.
things come out. And
Well, we know that.
yeah,
but,
and then we're off on random conversations. But
yes, and
the
then I'm going
convers-
to listen to this later and be like, what was coming out of my mouth?
yeah, you'll be able to go back and listen. That's
I
right. You'll hear
know.
exactly what came out. That's the beauty of podcast recording.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool. So the reason why you are here is one because Trey is absent.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
But also because
I
we
appreciate the invitation.
Yeah,
and
it's-
I'm glad
well,
to be here.
and just I enjoy having Trey across from me, but I enjoy even more having you across from me.
That's sweet.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
dear.
You're a much prettier face than Trey.
Um,
He has a pretty face, but
but a voice for radio.
he does have a voice for radio. So for us, for you in particular, it's been a hard few months. If you're part of our faith family, you know that over the last few months, Staci has been wrestling with her dad's failing health, and then I don't know, it's been about a month and a half ago now. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but I guess it has been. He passed away, and so our family. A month and 10 days. Our month has been in a lot. Our family has been in a lot of transition since January because of your dad's failing health and ultimately his death. He came down in January with COVID pneumonia, and I remember the call. I don't know. We were at the house, I think, or how we got. I don't remember.
No, I was at work.
You were at work. I just remember you got to go. You got to get on an airplane. You got to go out there and be with him. And at any rate, once he went in the hospital with COVID pneumonia, he did not come home until the day before he passed. He was in and out of rehab and in and out of the hospital, and then ultimately he died a month and 10 days ago. And it's been, difficult. Your dad died a day after his 88th birthday, correct?
Correct.
He turned 88 and then died the next day. And so, you had a dad who was obviously older. And so I think we knew that death was going to be something we would deal with sooner rather than later because of his age. And your mom will be 90 in December. But, that doesn't mean you're prepared for it. And it doesn't mean we expected it to happen a month and 10 days ago. But we kind of knew that someday we would have to deal with it. And this year we had to deal with it. And so you've walked through this now, and you've walked through it really, really well. I know that you're grieving, and it's difficult to lose a parent for sure, but you've walked through it really well. And just wanted to talk about it. I wanted us to take some time and just kind of walk through it a bit and process together. Because a few months ago, as you began to deal with your dad's failing health, Trey and I actually did a podcast episode on grief. I don't know if you remember that or not, because I know you're an avid listener of the podcast. You actually listen to the podcast on 1.5 speed, don't you?
I do. I know y'all are going to think I'm crazy because he seems like he's like on 5.5 speed all the time, but I do.
And you process my voice just fine at that speed.
I do.
Yeah, so
it's weird to not have it on that now. Everybody sounds
so right now when I'm talking
slow.
to you, it's really slow.
Well, not really.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, at any rate. So all that to
because
say.
you're talking to me in person.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we did an episode a couple months ago on grief because we were already starting to grieve your dad, and I was thinking through that, and we didn't know what his future was going to be. We didn't know if he was going to be able to come home and get better or whatever.
And we just lost Trey's
But
dad.
that's right. Trey had lost his father. We had several others in our church who had lost some loved ones, and so it's just kind of fresh on my mind. And as we talked through it then, Trey and I did, and I think it was helpful to talk through it then. But now that our family has walked through it, in particular you've walked through it, I thought it would be just helpful for people to hear from your perspective some of the things that you're dealing with and thinking through as you're grieving the loss of your dad. I think about 2 Corinthians chapter 1 where Paul writes, and he talks about God being the God of all comforts, that in our affliction, God comforts us. And he comforts us so that we might be able to comfort others with the love of Christ. And so I hope that as we think through these things, and I know it's real fresh and we're processing still a lot, that you've experienced, I think, the comfort of God through this. He's given you a lot of peace, and he's really helped you, I think, to stand firm in the midst of the grief in a lot of ways. You've handled it really well. But at the same time, the God who has comforted you, I hope that what you have to say in the few minutes we have will be a comfort to others. Because for you, this was, nobody's ever prepared to lose a parent, obviously. But just from, your role and your perspective and where you are in life, you hadn't really lost someone real close like that. I mean, I know your grandfather died when you were how old?
15.
15. And just point being, you haven't
Not
been
a whole
around
lot
death
Right.
a whole lot. And I haven't,
Personally.
right. And my
our
grandfather,
family.
my grandmother, both my grandparents, both sides have all passed. But as a pastor, I've been around death a lot. Like I've been in the room a lot when people have breathed their last breaths. And that was a new experience for you because you had not. And then that experience was with your dad. And so again, it's just a lot to kind of think through. And so I'm thankful that you're willing to talk about it a bit. And again, I think it's going to be helpful. So let's talk through these different ways. I pull up my notes. I don't know where they went. I had it. Okay, there they go. Some just some different thoughts that you've had. We talked about this yesterday when we were preparing for this. Some different thoughts that you've had as you've been thinking through and processing the death of your dad. And the first one was this, just death isn't easy.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So here you have it. You have your dad who's 88 years old. And you would think, right, we're expecting someone of that age to eventually die. But that doesn't make it any easier.
Right. I mean, your head tells you, logic tells you, reason tells you there's only a certain amount of time to expect, right? We all know that God has counted our days and he knows exactly when that time will be. And your head tells you just by matter of how many days he's already been on this earth, there probably aren't going to be decades left. But your heart making that leap from knowing to processing that on an emotional level is a totally different thing.
Yeah. And not just the death itself, but just the process leading up to it. From your perspective, what was it like to in those moments of seeing your dad come toward the end, all you were processing and thinking through? I know in a lot of ways you were just processing through and thinking through how to care for your dad and your mom. But what were you kind of processing? Because I think for you, when we had talked about it, I mean, certainly the day your dad died was hard, right? But the day your dad died, he died. And so, there was some finality in that moment. You had done what you were supposed to do in caring for your dad, and his time was no more. So there was that, what I'm saying? There was that finality that was there. And in some ways, leading up to it was just as difficult as the death itself, right?
Well, I think the circumstances are unique to each individual's life and what they are facing prior to the season of their departure from this earth. In his case, it had been a struggle. I mean, January 17th, we got the call. He's in ICU. Even up until that point, it had been a struggle just to get him into the hospital. And then weeks and weeks of peeling back this medical onion, the layers of the onion, trying to figure out what was wrong with him, and talking to doctors and being there and trying to get the right care, and trying to be in 2 different places at the same time, having family 14 hours away, and trying to be who you need to be in the moment where you are.
Yeah.
It's a challenge as well. And so just that season leading up to his death was
Because we had a lot going on.
draining.
We had a lot going on with our own family, and then your parents and trying to be there. It was challenging. So it's so and this is what it is. Like, death is never going to be easy for any family, because
Right.
that's part of, the fallenness of man, is we have to deal with this thing, and it doesn't come at a good time. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing about it that's easy, and there's always multiple layers of stuff going on, and you're never really prepared for it. And so death isn't easy, but also, one of the things you said last night is you don't know what to expect until it happens.
Right. I think, again, the head tells you, oh, there are some things that you can try to be prepared for, some practical, if then do this, or, just ways to kind of keep house a little bit, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. But then you're just not necessarily emotionally prepared when the time comes
Yeah.
to know what to expect of yourself,
Yeah.
how you're going to feel, how you're going to respond, how you're going to react,
Yeah.
what to expect of others,
Yeah.
how they're going to feel and respond and react, and the expectations of maybe you think you're going to need one thing, but then you're walking through it, and really that's not what you need. It's something totally different. And expectations can be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you have, so the expectations, and not only that, but like, you think about, you don't know what to expect afterwards. Like, we've been dealing with now for the last month or so, all the ramifications of someone dying and all the different things you have to do.
Right. And I think that goes along with the first
Like, there's not a book.
thing of
There's
death.
not a book or a handbook on here's what you do.
Right. Death isn't easy. And I think I said to you, it'd be, that'd be great. Somebody could have a job just walking people through the aftermath. Like, somebody who really understands the process and just leading you forward, almost just holding your hand through, okay, take this step, that's taken care of. Now take this step, that's taken care of. And also, again, the distance between me and my mom, 14 hours is not easy, and not having the things right in front of me all the time to actually help her. So that's a challenge that's unique to our situation, perhaps not to everyone, but just knowing what to do next.
Yeah.
You're already walking down this emotional roller coaster, and then this entity says, oh, we need this from you, and this entity says, oh, you need to think about this, and then weeks later, some other entity will say, hey, you forgot about that. So
and I think through the process, I mean, everybody has been understanding and helpful, right? Like, we haven't talked to a bank or this person or that person, and everybody's been helpful, but you just don't know. Like, there's not a handbook.
Right. It's the unknown.
It's the unknown.
The
Like,
things
what am
that
I
you know
supposed
to
to do?
and you can take care of.
Yeah.
While they may not be easy or 1, 2, 3 done, it's the things that you aren't aware of necessarily, or that haven't come to mind yet, that kind of have this space of weighing on you. Like, oh, what if I haven't done? What if I haven't gotten mom what she needs, and haven't done it in the way that best takes care of her? Yeah. So there's some weight to that as well.
Yeah, and we talked about too, like, just death isn't easy. You don't know what to expect until it comes, and also it's a process, and how the grief comes in waves. Like, death really, the process of grief. What does that look like for you?
Well, just hearing you say, having recently walked through it, it just occurred to me that it's not an ED, it's an ING.
Yeah.
It's
You
not
are walking
over.
through it, right.
You are walking through it. And I think that's something that is an ongoing thing. I think once you experience loss, that loss is there. And so there's a point of reference that anything can lead you back to that loss. I think, there's smells, or there's sounds, or riding a car today with birds on it because he liked nature. Those things that you don't expect to hit you the way they do, they just come in waves. I heard it said before that grief is like literal physical waves in the ocean. They come and they wash over you. Sometimes they knock you down. And sometimes it's hard to find your way back to breathing in the wave, but they subside. You can stand again. And hopefully the next time the wave comes, you have a little bit more ground and you're able to stand firmer, or more firm, however the right way to say that. But sometimes the waves come out of the blue and you're not expecting them. Yeah. And I think that kind of plays into the not knowing what to expect sometimes too, because it's not mapped out before it happens.
Yeah. So through the process,
that makes sense.
Through the process, what's helped you? What's been most helpful for you? Maybe a better question is, how have you seen God's faithfulness to you in the midst of what you've walked through, what you're walking through?
It's hard to explain when you actually experience the peace that passes understanding feeling. For decades, I have prayed for my father's salvation, and not having a clear confirmation on that, knowing he was exposed throughout his entire life to the gospel, and even having had opportunity to read scriptures to him within hours of his passing, still not having that 100% assurance. Even in the face of that, feeling peaceful because I knew people were praying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we had our church family. It's been very good to us. I know you received lots of texts and encouragement, and people knew what you were going through. They knew, obviously, that your dad was struggling, but they also knew that there was some uncertainty around his spiritual condition. We just didn't know that he had professed faith in Christ in his younger years and was faithful in the church, and came a point where he was no longer faithful in the church. So we just always have had questions, and that was a struggle. I think as you know, his health was failing. We continue to pray, continue to ask God for opportunities, and at the end we just still don't know. And we just talked about resting in God's sovereign grace. Like we don't know the condition of his heart, but it doesn't change the fact that even though we don't know the condition of your dad's heart, that God is good and he's faithful and he's loving. And through the process, obviously, he's been good and faithful and loving to you, so much so that in the face of the uncertainty, you've had that certain peace. And so you've seen God's faithfulness in that way. And I think you're right. I think it has been just very helpful to know that you had an army of people that surrounded you and that have been praying you through that particular issue, right? And that uncertainty you've had. And I know that's still hard for us to kind of think through that, but yeah, I think you have seen God's goodness and graciousness in that.
Indeed, yes. And I think, one of the things that kind of, I don't know if I just came to mind, is just that having that many people for so long join me in that prayer.
Yeah.
I know that God has heard each prayer, and so trusting that he has done what he wanted to with them.
Yeah. So we talked about the grief comes in waves and it's a process, and we also talked about how it's just facts, like everyone grieves differently.
Yes.
So what do you mean by that? Everyone grieves differently.
Well, just in my own experience with we are a family of four. My origin family is a family of four, and just within the three of us that remained, we each grieved differently.
Yeah.
Some grieve loudly.
Yeah.
And they're grieving and hurting, and they just make it apparent. Some you could look at and not even know anything was going on. And Yeah, so I mean, I'm not being very articulate with that right now, but everybody's different, and some can blow off steam and be better a few minutes later, and some within
Yeah.
the stream
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
their steam um, grieve more.
Yeah. And so
But
that's kind of thinking through it, right? Like,
I don't
if
feel like I'm making much
no,
sense.
that's good. I think if you
This is not scripted, by the way.
if you are around people that you know are grieving the loss of someone, like, just giving them space. I mean, that yeah, people process things differently emotionally, and that's just and so I think about you. For the most part, you've done really, really well. You've had plenty of moments where you've broken down and cried and all those kind of things, but you've had some strength about you, and I think God has granted you that. But just because you portray a strength about you in the midst of it doesn't mean you're not hurting on the inside, right?
Right.
And so being sensitive to that, like, if you see someone who's strong, right, like, praise God for that, but no, there's still some real hurt and brokenness there, and being sensitive to that. And if you see somebody who is not as strong, right, being sensitive to that as well. I think, sometimes we want to have the attitude of just, suck it up, it's going to be all right. Well, that's probably not the best advice, I mean, just meeting people where they are and trying your best to minister and show compassion. Again, I think, this is the beauty of the body of Christ, that we get to come around grieving people and comfort with the hope of Christ. And again, with that understanding that everybody does grieve differently.
And I think that goes back to expectations too. Not knowing what to expect from other people. And you may have an expectation of how a certain person is going to grieve, and that may not be at all how it works out.
Yeah.
And like you said, giving them space, acknowledging that just because somebody is able to smile doesn't necessarily mean that they're without sorrow or pain.
Yeah. And the last thing we talked about was that, and we've already hit on this a little bit, is that there's just never a good time for loss.
No.
You can't.
I mean, right? Loss is loss by the
right.
nature
And that's
of the
what
word.
think about, right? That's what thinking about,
missing,
right? Like,
it's not the norm that you had been walking in before.
Right. It's not the norm you walked in before, and it's not supposed to be normal. We shouldn't. Death is a normal part of life.
Right.
Everybody will
sorrow,
die.
As is
right.
pain.
But we shouldn't think of it as normal. Death is a result of fallenness. What's going to be normal someday is life with Christ forever with no death. That's the normal we're looking toward. And so death does feel like an intruder, an unwelcome interruption, and it is very much so. And, I was thinking about it, right? Just this idea that in that moment that your dad died, life ended. And it was like the pause button on life for your family was because that's what we dealt with in that moment. We dealt with the death of your dad and the ramifications of it, right? So it felt like the pause button was hit. All of the attention went to focus on what ended, your dad's life, right? So life ended, but while a life ended, life was still going.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
Not everybody stopped. Our family stopped, but everything else went on. Right? Like, because everything has to go on. And so death is this unwelcome interruption that sometimes takes us by surprise. Sometimes it doesn't take us by surprise. We know it's coming, whatever the case may be, but it is an unwelcome interruption that ends something while everything else is still going on, right?
And that's strange.
It is very strange.
Because
it's very strange.
While you know that and you understand it, it's hard to balance that, being in the moment and allowing yourself to focus on the ending of a life and what needs to happen after that, and also jumping to, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I still got these other things to take care of, and allowing that pause to really happen and say it's okay for me to focus on this right now. And giving people that space and not having, again, the word expectation, but the expectation of them being able to maneuver that quickly, or to be able to jump right back in like nothing has happened, is also interesting.
So you think about, people who are listening, some have gone through what you're going through now. Some have not gone through yet what you're going through. For those who are listening who maybe are struggling with grief, whether it's been recent or maybe a little far out from now, whatever the case may be, how would you encourage them in their walk with the Lord based off of what you've gone through over the last few months? How would you encourage them in trusting Christ and keeping their eyes on Him in the midst of what they're suffering through?
That's a good question. I mean, I think obviously we have to go to the Word, even when we may not feel like going to the Word. Maybe some feel like the Lord has abandoned them by taking the one that they loved, or allowing the one that they loved to have suffered and to now be gone. But in those moments, I think it's even more important to, even if the heart isn't aligned at the moment, for the head to say, no, that's what you need to do. You need to go to the truth. You need to find the source and allow the Holy Spirit to get the heart back in line, and the emotions back in line, and it being okay, because God is bigger than that. He most certainly can handle our feeble attempts to be right with Him, and only Jesus can do that for us.
Yeah.
But so I would say picking up the Word, finding that encouragement in the Word, allowing Him to be the comfort as you process the emotions. It being okay to cry. I mean, He invented tears. He gave them to us for a reason. They're cleansing. They help us to process through. I feel like we've said that word a lot too, but manage our emotions. It's okay to cry. I kept telling my mom that. I didn't see her cry a lot, and I kept saying, it's okay. You can cry. And she'd say, oh, well, I have. But, and some people don't.
Yeah, and that's
cry
okay
a lot,
too.
and that's okay. And some people choose to do that when they're alone. I think I'm more of a cry alone by myself kind of person, although you may have seen tears.
I've seen a few.
But also realizing that there is joy in knowing that this is not all we have. This earth, this world, that as we know it right now is not all we have. And our hope is eternal, in that one day there will be no sorrow. There will be no tears. There will be constant joy. When our joy here is apt to wax and wane, we know that one day that will not be the case, and all will be made right. And so allowing yourself to feel, allowing yourself to process, but running towards the Lord instead of away from Him, even when the inclination might be to turn away from Him.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I
don't know if I'm answering the question
You are
correctly.
answering the question just
because
fine.
Again, let me just point out, this is not scripted, and
That's
he
why we
is
roll
asking
around
me
here.
questions off the cuff. So
And you're doing a great job.
well, I don't know about that, but I do think too that as believers, when we walk through loss, grief, sorrow, I think that's by design as well, because it helps us to know the pain, the loss, the grief, the sorrow that our brothers and sisters as believers are walking through at times too. And it softens us. It helps us to have perspective.
Yeah.
And to know that when we experience the assurance that the Father is with us and loving us and caring for us, that we can help to offer that to other people as well.
That's 2 Corinthians 1. The God of all comforts comforts us in our affliction, so He might be a comfort for others, right? Like, it does. Like the grief and sorrow, it really does give you a longing for that which is eternal. And I think that's a good thing, right?
Right.
To have that longing for that which is eternal is a good thing. And in grief and sorrow, and it feels like everything has changed. But the reality is, while it seems like everything has changed, there is an unchanging truth. that God is present and with you. He has not changed. He is still there. He is still the same. He is still faithful, and He is with you in every season. Even though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, Psalm 23, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. My rod and staff, you comfort me. And that's a good truth to know. Right?
And I think one of the things that kind of has stood out almost instantly from the moment he passed, and my mom kind of agreed with this too, is that when you're walking with someone who is suffering for so long and in so many ways, it's almost like David with his son when he was sick. You know, he prayed and he was before the Lord, and he was just earnestly seeking for the healing of his son. And those are things that we do when somebody that we love is not well. Mm. But when the Lord chooses for that time to come to an end, and maybe this goes back to your other question too, but there's that peace of knowing this season has ended too.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
for sure,
with the ending of the suffering, life goes on.
Yeah.
And there's that element of get up and go on.
Yeah. And you are, and you've done well, and you will continue to. I know you loved your dad, and your dad was a great man, and I see God's faithfulness to you as you're walking through this. And so thank you. I know this is raw, but you've done a very good job of helping us to think through these things. So thank you for being on the episode. And next time we do one, we'll do
just like you. Speed these things along.
What?
It hasn't been that long, so it is raw and fresh.
Yeah. And hopefully the next time you're able to sit in this chair, it'll be a little more cheery topic.
Yeah, that would be nice. And I didn't say that to mean like he was speeding my grief along. I just meant like those of us who know you know that you are one to keep the momentum
I keep
going.
life going. I keep life going is what I do.
You are not one to sit still.
No, it's not my favorite thing to do.
No, it is not.
All right. Thank you. I love you very much. You did great.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Hey, I hope today's episode has been helpful for you, and I hope that you've been blessed by what you heard. And if you have been blessed, if it's been helpful for you, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button so you can have new content delivered to your device every single week. Leave us a 5-star review. That helps us to get word out about our podcast. And as always, we hope today's episode has helped you connect faith to life.